It's all moving. Hey everybody, Thibert here, and welcome to Kiss Corner. I want to introduce one of my dearest friends and the biggest kissologist I can think of, Scott Palacios. Say hi.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Hello. You're gonna have to talk louder.
I gotta talk louder. I don't project.
He doesn't project. Okay.
I mumble.
So, what we're going to do is we're probably going to go off on a billion tangents, but we're going to try to keep it focused on Kiss. And this is going to be, hopefully, I don't know, weekly, monthly, whenever we can get together.
See, yeah.
Yeah, show. So, like I said, Scott is the Kiss.
I love Kiss.
Yes.
I love Kiss. All eras. And we'll just start off with that song. One of the most polarizing subjects to any Kiss fan is that song, that album.
Dynasty.
Just divides people. You can't. It's a never-ending debate. Those two records that fell within that era, Unmasked and Dynasty. And what would your thoughts be on that era?
On Dynasty?
Yes.
I think I think that's the album I still believed. I still like them,
wanted to, yeah.
But then that's also the album where I bailed out.
You jumped off.
I jumped off
at that point.
I jumped off, yeah. So, oh gosh, I want to talk more about you, but this leads into my Kiss Dynasty story. Should I go
Is
into
this the ticket story?
This is a ticket story.
Tell me.
Okay.
I remember. Vaguely.
Okay. All right. So I always loved Kiss, and well, okay, just to back up, and that's what we should do with yours too. So we should talk about like our early love for Kiss. Oh, you guys, also, we have Taylor here, and she's going to read your chat.
Hi, Taylor.
Hi, everyone. I'm a little sick still, but I'm here to read your chat. I can't promise to keep these guys in line. They have a lot of Kiss stories. They were telling them before we went live. So
And now we have nothing to talk about.
And now we have. I'm not going to say.
before you start, any Dynamo said, so Ethan is Star Wars, Mike is GOT, and Art is the Kiss fandom.
Well, we'll see. If you guys tune in and we have enough listeners, yeah, we'll keep going.
Go on with the ticket
Okay,
story.
so the ticket story, but then I want to get into your backstory of like when you got into Kiss and all that, and I'll tell mine. So the Dynasty, this was like the beginning. Well, that wasn't the beginning, but it was definitely the end. But it was kind of the epitome of my Kiss fandom, and then it just ended.
Just dropped.
Yeah, then but it was cold turkey, dude. Like after that,
You were just done.
that was it. I was done. So, anyways, to back up, I finally, all my friends had seen Kiss live, and I'd never got to see them. And I was about maybe 13, 14 when Kiss Alive 2 came out.
Alive
Yeah.
2.
And I think that was one of my first, I know it was my first big Christmas present because it was under the tree. Yeah, when I was a kid.
Aw.
Yeah, I was like,
Right?
oh man. Because also it's cool, right? It opens up. It's got all those
And you
exits.
see that picture in the middle, you just go, holy crap. Right?
Yeah, it's
You
awesome.
just go, oh my God.
Yeah, it was oh my gosh, it was a religious experience for a 13-year-old
Yeah,
kid.
oh,
Yeah, I was
yeah.
like, oh my gosh. And then later I found out that it has a lot of I mean, the reason I think we all like it is because it directly links to comic books. I mean, these guys are like characters, they're like comic book characters.
Yeah.
And they're kind of iconic in like you have the demon, you have the animal character, you have the lover, you have the space character.
Was that the big draw for you? I mean, just not to get off track, but was that it? Was it just the whole thing with obviously the characters and the sort of comic booky vibe? Was that the appeal in the beginning?
I don't think I was that conscious of it or aware of it, but it had to have been, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I love comic books, and this was one of my, I would say these guys were probably my gateway into like heavier music.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, we'll flash to I got tickets, and it was for the Dynasty tour, and it was at the Coliseum, and we're LA, so Scott and I both live in California, and so we would go. It was usually Long Beach Arena,
Yeah.
the Coliseum, the
Some
Forum.
at the Forum, yeah.
No, it was at the Forum. That's what it
Yeah.
was. It was the Forum, Inglewood.
Yeah.
And then even was it Santa Monica Civic Center was even a viable?
Well, no,
was
what
it
what
at the
had
time?
happened when they came through town is they had two shows at the Forum, the second show didn't sell, so they moved it to the Anaheim Convention Center.
Wow.
Okay, so
And
then
that's where I saw him. That's where I saw. We're going to go to the Forum.
wait a minute. So you saw the Dynasty too?
At
So you saw him at
Anaheim.
Long Beach?
At
Okay, so
Anaheim Convention, which is tiny.
oh, Anaheim. Okay,
Which is small.
that's
Right?
minuscule.
That's substantially smaller than the Forum.
oh my. Okay, so this'll definitely.
And it was half sold out.
Yeah, this will help sell my story. Okay.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of
Okay, so
where things work.
that's probably also why I got tickets
Yeah,
because
it's
no one wanted
pretty
them.
easy, exactly.
So at the time, I was still driving my my parents' car,
Mm-hmm.
so I was able to bum the classic Malibu station wagon. And if you guys ever watch, if you ever watch the '70s show, what do they call that? The Vista
Oh,
Cruiser.
Yeah,
Vista
yeah, the
Cruiser?
Vista Cruiser.
Yeah, the Vista
It
Cruiser.
did it have the wood panels?
It didn't.
On the side.
Oh, it did. Yeah, it had the wood. But this thing's a boat. It's a boat on wheels.
huge.
It's massive,
It smelled like
massive,
gas.
massive car. Yeah, and so me and my girlfriend at the time, we drove out, and I think we got almost to the Coliseum. No, it was the Forum. Yeah, it was the Forum. I keep calling it. And then the car broke down. The car broke down. We got it to a gas station. And so we're in LA now. This is not like, I mean, this is inner city
It's
LA.
rough.
Yeah,
No, the
this
Forum's
is
in a rough
yeah.
area.
And
Yeah.
these aren't, not to get racial, these aren't white kids. These aren't like rock
No,
kids.
they don't
These
know
are
kids. Yeah.
yeah, these kids aren't into.
They don't
So
know
anyway,
anything. Yeah.
so I'm trying like, what's wrong with the car? I'm talking to, because at the time they still had mechanics at gas stations. You go, I don't know, man, the engine just froze up. I don't know what to tell you. So I'm like, oh man, I got these Kiss tickets. I finally got my Kiss tickets. This is gonna be my shining Kiss moment. And so then I'm like, I'm not gonna get to go to the show. So then I was just like, you know what? Somebody's gonna use these tickets. So everybody that came into the gas station, I was like, hey, here, just take these tickets. You're like a half hour out, go see Kiss on me.
Wow.
And you know what? You know what? Nobody.
Are you telling me that nobody did?
Nobody grabbed the
Nobody.
tickets, man. So yeah, so I didn't get to see the Dynasty tour, and I didn't give the tickets away, and so I think I just took a tow truck back to the folks' house, and then had to work probably a week to pay for the towing.
God.
So that's my Kiss story. So what was your Dynasty
Well,
Kiss story?
My Dynasty Kiss story was that. I just remember we were so excited because after you remember the media blitz of the Love Gun era. I mean, they were all over TV. There was the movie, The Kiss Meets the Phantom for Halloween. And then the solo records came out within that span as well, along with the Live 2. So they were just bombarding you, and then you couldn't wait for new costume. What are they going to look like? What's the stage going to look like? And then Dynasty wound up being sort of this sort of disappointment to the hardcore fans in terms of its polished production and everything. But I have a different take on it. I like the sound of those two records. It's kind of what you hoped they would sound like. Bigger drums, fatter production, fatter guitars, because the first three albums, as we were talking about a little earlier, have always sort of paled in that arena that the production seems so thin.
Yeah, I think up till like Destroyer, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Bob Ezrin brought out a heavier, bigger sound, and that might have been through working with heavier bands. Of course, Alice Cooper is his affiliation with Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
But they were just like. So they were just larger than life in terms of
Well, just to back up the aesthetics, they gave Ace a cape, right?
for Dynasty, yes.
For Dynasty.
Yeah, the big silver
Ah.
cape. And those costumes weren't great, right?
Why?
They
And
were
then he had
great.
like little diamond
The
reflect.
little diamond things, they
Oh,
were great.
God.
But I've learned a lot.
I always thought they went like Broadway musical.
It was very glitzy, very glitzy. They were very just Vegas but in a way, don't you think it sort of epitomized
Their downfall.
well, maybe that too. I mean,
For me, it
like
did.
even Jesus, like the huge rocks that he slammed. Oh my God! But it was a very, I did end up seeing them, and it was maybe 3/4, maybe half sold out at Anaheim. And I remember it was during the week. It was on like a Tuesday. I do remember that vividly for some reason.
The Anaheim convention across from Disney.
The shell. It looks like a shell.
That is so
It's small.
tiny.
No, it was.
How'd they even get the stage
I
in
don't
there?
know. It was tight, but I mean, there was nobody. I remember looking back, and it was very sparse. And they came out to. I mean, of course, there's rabid fans and everything, but it was a good set list. I remember the set list was good, but they played very little of the record, which would prove maybe
That they couldn't
that
play
they
it?
couldn't maybe get through it or something.
Yeah. Well, that whole bass riff at the beginning, I don't think that's changed.
They played.
That
I think that
I was
actually
made for
might be
loving
it.
you.
That
Yeah.
actually might be the only thing that they played off of the record that I remember. They played some solo record stuff, but it was strictly first 3 albums. Love Gun, Rock and Roll Over stuff too.
Oh, speaking of solo stuff, I'm going to take a leap here, but we got to kind of tie it into like comic book and geek stuff.
Okay.
Did you ever see some of the outtakes for the Thanos Infinity Avengers movie that just came out?
No.
There's a deleted scene. It should have been in the movie. It's hilarious, and Taylor can chime in here because she thought it. She's not even like necessarily a Kiss person, but the way they say this stuff. Okay, you know what Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Yeah,
so you know he's got that Zune, and it's like his mother's playlist, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're playing New York Groove.
Oh.
So the scene, the first time you see the Guardians, you hear that music first, like like kind of like disco-y kind of wow with the wah-wah pedal, yeah, and then it's like I'm back. Back in the New York groove, yeah. And so then you hear that riff, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, that's the Ace Frehley solo album, right?"
Yeah.
Right. And so then that Drax character, you know, the guy, the big thuggy guy, he grabs the Zune and he goes, "Enough of this," and he's like over and over and over again, and then he's like, "This is crap." He's just like insulting it, and then the lead character, what's his name, Taylor? What's it?
Oh, Star-Lord.
Star-Lord he grabs it back. He goes, "I will not let you malign Ace Frehley."
Oh, that's great.
What he says, like, "I will not let you malign Ace Frehley. I lost my crap, man." It was the funniest line. And then it just keeps going. Like, give that to me. It's like, this means so much to me. Ace Frehley was whatever, my favorite Kiss, whatever. He just goes into all this, like, kind of insidey, because you have to be a Kiss fan to even know that song. Really, right? Because that stuff's pretty obscure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So his mom, character-wise,
was a big
She was a big
solo.
So you get the
Yeah,
she was a
because
Kiss
that's not even like
fan,
rock and roll all night and
No,
party.
it's not
That's a
endemic.
more obscure. Yeah. And so I was
But
like,
it has made it back into the set over the years, as far back as the reunion tour even.
it's a cool song.
It is.
Yeah, I like it, and it fits that
And it was
so
a cover.
well.
It was
And then anyway, it's like the outro to the it goes back into the song, and then it cuts out to space.
Yeah.
It's like back, and
great.
that's what he says. He goes, I can't get into my groove unless I'm listening to this song. He just screamed at the top of his
Well,
lungs.
there you go.
Star-Lord
It's
is.
making its way.
Yeah.
into modern culture.
Yeah. So I
Right?
think this will be fun, right? Yeah, there's so many
There it goes.
connections
It's
to it.
seeped into modern culture, but
Okay, so here's where we have to give them some backstory. Okay. So I know you guys all have your Kiss stories probably, but let's hear yours, Scott. What is how you got
the
into it?
impetus-
Yeah.
Strange enough, somebody just put this on social media too. It was the Paul Lynde Halloween special. I'll never forget it.
You just posted that,
I did.
right?
I actually shared it. Somebody
It's
posted it,
hilarious.
which is great. And I just remember we were watching the show. I knew who Paul Lynde was because he was another huge comedian. He was all over TV and so we're watching. It's my brother and I watching this thing. If I remember, there was a torrential rainstorm. It was raining really bad outside that night that aired, and lo and behold, of course, the entertainment was Kiss. I didn't even know they were a real band. I thought it was for the show. I thought it was like a made-up thing.
They come down the smoky
down the
elevator,
smoky
right?
elevator.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
were both our jaws were just on the floor going, holy crap, look at that guy.
You know what that looks
Look at
like? You know what that
guy."
place looks like? The Bradford Building.
Oh.
It kind of does.
It looks like
Where they
with
film
all that
a lot
wrought
of the
iron.
movies, yeah, with all that, it does.
Yeah,
Oh
like
my
Blade
God.
Runner. Yeah,
Oh my
I
God,
think
yeah,
that is
Blade
that
Runner.
elevator. Yeah.
They used that for so many films and
Yeah.
TV. But that was it, and I didn't know. Maybe my brother was more aware that they were a real band. I did not. I did not know that they were a real band. And then I think Destroyer had just come out. It had probably just come out, and then of course I was very aware that, oh my God, these guys are like a real, like a real thing, like a real thing. And then my brother had.
Wait. Okay, just to back up, how old were you?
76, so 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was it, and then.
So what album came out?
It was Destroyer.
Destroyer.
It had just come out like in October or something like that.
So this is so you were actually into Kiss even before I was, because Alive 2 came out after that.
78.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of years.
Holy crap. Okay.
Yeah. So that was it. I mean, that was it, and I was just so like, holy crap! Like they actually, well,
They play.
They actually play.
Yeah.
And then they came through L.A. I think they did Anaheim Stadium, and then of course I remember seeing the billboard along the freeway and going, oh my God, these guys are real. This is the best thing ever. They dress, these costumes and the guitars and the drums. I wasn't even playing, at that point I wasn't playing drums, but I wanted to just after seeing that. And then of course the blitz of Rock and Roll Over, and then Love Gun, and then the whole just Kiss Mania thing. But that was it. I was just sold, and it could have been the visual aesthetic, because you see them and you just
Well, you're
course.
7 years
You go,
old.
oh my God, the
Yeah,
smoke
okay.
and the
Right.
we couldn't handle it. My brother like, my dad, shut up in there. What's going on in there? Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then wait, they have guitars? Oh God.
There's smoke.
There's drums and
There's blood coming out of that
there's
guy's
blood,
mouth
yeah,
and
exactly.
fire.
Settle down in there.
Yeah, settle down.
Right.
Don't make me come
Don't
in
make
there.
me come in there. Exactly. Don't make me have to come in there and turn off Kiss.
Yeah. And for your youngsters out there, these were vinyl, these were platters,
These are
were
actual albums.
Yeah, these were albums. But the albums were cool because
They came with
Kiss
stuff.
came with stuff. Because Kiss was a visual band, so the album is like almost a poster unto itself.
A souvenir. Of
And then a lot of
album.
them were like gatefold. They opened.
There's stuff in there,
And then there's stuff
things
in-
fall out, stickers.
Wasn't like in
Oh my
Alive?
God.
Wasn't there like a tour book in there?
There was a book.
There was a bound-in
letter
book.
and written personally to me.
What?
Yeah, Taylor,
Yeah,
there was
little letter.
because like tour
Yeah.
books you would buy them at shows.
They're leather?
Well, no, it wasn't
No,
leather.
Oh, 'cause that would be
That would be
awesome.
awesome. I love it.
I was like, wait a minute.
Right?
No,
It
but they were
smells
like
rock
real
and roll.
tour books.
Yeah.
They were fully
Oh,
gloss,
yeah.
and they had a
Pictures.
harder, heavier stock cover.
Yeah.
And they were full gloss, and they were almost the size of the album itself.
I mean,
Wow.
Nowadays you would never, right? They would.
It was
never
free.
do
It was
merch
just bound
like that.
into the book,
Yeah.
into the album.
Yeah, like the originals when they came out, when because they re-released, if you remember, the first 3 records in a box set called the Originals.
Yeah.
After, God, I'll say that was even after the success on the heels of Destroyer, to sort of garner more attention towards the first 3 albums. They re-released them in one package called the Originals, which is a great idea. But it came. I remember opening that thing up. I got it for Christmas, I think. And all this stuff, stickers, and I don't know, a book, and all this other history of Kiss. And,
Well, the weird thing,
all
Taylor.
this
Okay,
stuff, you
okay.
know?
In the Love Gun album, there was a popper. It was like a
What?
gun.
It was a gun.
It was a cardboard gun, but it had like a bang, like a. But
Flag?
Yeah.
yeah, but the thing is, if you
It
kind of
wore
slightly
the
opened it
couple-
and you flicked it with your wrist, the
It
kaboom or whatever the
tore,
blam would
yeah.
come out. But did it say Love Gun or?
It did say Love Gun.
Yeah, so if
It
you
did.
popped it, and it made a pop
It said
sound.
bang, I think.
It would say bang, yeah. But it said Love Gun on the gun,
I
right?
mean, you'd never. I mean, that's just brilliant merchandising.
Well, it's brilliant for a 7-year-old, and I was probably
yeah.
around. I'm a little older than Scott,
Yeah.
so I was probably around 12 or 13
Yeah.
when Alive 2
Yeah.
came out. Yeah.
But even like Rock and Roll Over, because Rock and Roll Over and Destroyer came out right on the heels of each other. Like I should know this. I think within a year, maybe within the same
Well, they were
year.
putting out 2-3
They were
albums a
just
year.
cranking
Yeah.
them out. But I remember the guy across the street had Rock and Roll Over. I didn't have it, and he just here, take it. You can have this. This is crap. What is it? He was into Bowie, and some other stuff. Yeah, he's like, I don't here, take it home, and I thought it was like gold. Oh my god! And so I was running across the street, with it, and thinking it was just brilliant, and then. But yeah, and a lot of other people weren't. So there you go. It was even polarizing as a kid, just to be.
Well, even the comics. Look, Kiss
There you go.
poster.
There you
Yeah.
go. Poster.
Nice.
What, merch, right? It's
Yeah, it was all about
merch.
merchandise, giving people a little bit
And
more
that was
for
the
their
whole
bang,
thing.
more bang
More
for their
bang,
love
literally
gun.
more bang for
Yeah.
your love gun. Literally.
Literally,
Well, what was
I
your-
don't think Love Gun was about weapons though. I think it was.
No.
What was that about?
I think it touched on something else.
Something, I'm not sure
I'm not
what-
Sure.
what
It's very
was-
vague.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't
but,
crystal clear what he was talking about.
yeah.
But I don't believe they were weapons.
No.
Like bullets.
No.
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 Okay.
No.
We'll leave it at that. So what was mine?
What is it that
I think it
propelled
was.
you into Kiss?
Yeah, it was that Christmas. So I think. Remember Ted Heath?
Of course.
I think Ted might have been a little. No. I think I was. Well, I don't know. I don't know how it was, but I think somehow I knew about Kiss before that Alive 2 album came out. And so I just remember all I wanted for Christmas was the Alive 2 album. That's all I wanted. And so,
Right?
yeah, I still
Right?
remember
Oh,
seeing it under the tree. I
you
still
just go,
remember
"Oh
seeing
my
it.
God."
I played that thing probably 50 times that Christmas day. And like I said, like your parents,
I
my
did.
parents were probably, we made a major mistake here.
Because they just played over and over.
But it got worse because I started playing the drums after that. So my parents, I just punished them constantly.
Oh, you got Curtis Wyndham in the chat. He said it was Gregory's favorite band.
Yeah, Greg too. Yeah,
Ah.
yeah. So Kurt is from the old Norwalk
Kurt.
days too. Yeah, Curtis
I
Wyndham. Yeah,
remember Kurt. Okay.
yeah. Tall,
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 Yeah.
dark,
Yeah,
handsome.
and he was here. I think one time I was here for something, and he was here.
Yeah, it was
Right.
probably Amanda's graduation or something.
Great,
Yeah,
great.
yeah. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Nice.
And yeah, so yeah, there was that, and then that album just changed my life.
Right.
It just, oh my gosh! And I think it was probably because like I said, I wasn't conscious at the time, but I liked comics since I was a kid,
Yeah.
and these guys were like comic book rockers. They just
believe
fell right into that, or I fell right into that, and I couldn't stop. So after that, what came after Alive 2? Do you remember?
The solo albums, well, double platinum.
Okay, that was the
Solo
greatest
albums,
hits.
and then that was the big break before Dynasty.
And
was-
double platinum was there were extras in there, weren't there?
No, double platinum is just like remastered versions, and actually it's remixed. It seemed like in some cases of every album up to that point. So there was material off of the first three albums, Kiss, Hotter Than Hell, Dressed to Kill, and then Destroyer. There was some rock and roll over material, Love Gun material.
Oh, I remember why it seemed special because it was embossed or something, right?
The original cover was
Well,
embossed.
it was metallic,
Yeah.
and then the Kiss and the
Silver.
faces they were
embossed.
Yeah, they were
actually
embossed.
raised out. Yeah, and it was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the coolest thing.
Sweet Mamma
Right?
Jamma.
Right, Sweet
Yeah.
Mamma Jamma.
Yeah.
But it was great. It was like like the first big greatest hits where you got just sort of a snippet of every era up to that point.
And then what after that?
After that was there was the solo albums,
Okay.
and then came the whole Dynasty era.
Oh my gosh,
And this is
I
what's
crashed
so
and
other-
burned almost instantly then.
Well, there's other records that came like
I had like a year or two.
and then after that was, of course, we get into like Creatures of the Night and The Elder and Unmasked, which is one of my favorite records. I think it's a brilliant.
So I must have
Record.
went back then. So I bought everything
After.
from Alive 2
Back.
back. Yeah, because I have all of them, and I think I only have up to the solos
Okay.
and Dynasty.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's all. Yeah.
yeah, and then
That was the
I think
beginning
that's
of
my
what
whole
people
Kiss
think would be the
collection.
end, Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So also, just to back up, Scott, because of his love probably for Kiss early on,
Yeah.
you became a musician, right?
I did. I can directly trace it, I think, to that. I just was just so, oh my God. Everybody talks about their Beatle moment, seeing the Beatles, and it's all that was and my brothers, I think, too, because I don't think that he was playing guitar at that point either. But that was definitely it. you know, and I don't know how I'm gonna do that. I don't have any drums. I don't know, but I gotta get some, or I gotta find
Somehow I gotta get these
find,
things.
yeah, I gotta find where there are some, so that I could do that or start doing that too. But I mean, with you, was that sort of a catalyst for wanting to play? I mean, you were
Yeah,
doing other stuff before that.
Right, but I think what happened, like when I was a kid, like really young, it was all comics.
No comics.
And probably up to the point, the Kiss thing, I'd never really put it together, but all the way up to the Kiss Alive 2, and I think I went more music at that point. I still drew, but I think I went more music. So I was like you, at that point, I was like, how do I get my hands on an instrument?
How do I do this?
Yeah, I wasn't even like necessarily what instrument. I was just like, I have to play something. Yeah. And so
You know.
I think I started frequenting Norwalk had a bunch of pawn shops, and there was I think it was a weird off-brand drum kit, and it was double. There was two heads, on top and bottom, and it was blue like metal flake.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so I just remember I would go back, every day and just eye it and just like it was like that Wayne's World thing, like you will be mine. Oh yes, you will be mine. And for this guy, I must have been like 13, 14, maybe. Yeah, because I think I started working when I was about 14. I had a job. And so I remember my parents signed some kind of so I could work early. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was still in school. Yeah. So I had enough money to buy that, or I made enough money eventually to buy that kit. And so I bought that kit, and I was such a Kiss fan that metal flake and the double head. It wasn't cool.
It's not gonna work.
It's not cool.
This isn't
So I
gonna work.
took the lugs off the bottom.
gonna work.
Yeah, and I took the heads off, and so they were open, and also it's louder.
Yeah, oh,
right?
yeah, that
they
sound.
become louder.
This is it.
Yeah, this is it.
gonna work,
And so
yeah.
then my mom was into wallpaper, but it was
Where's
but
this
it-
going?
yeah, where's this going exactly? So she had,
you have-
but it was that
Did you
wallpaper.
recover?
Yeah, I recovered.
Did you really?
Yeah,
you never told me that
Yeah, I
story. You
recovered. Yeah, I don't think you ever saw these
I didn't
drums.
know.
Yeah, this was they weren't that durable,
You
so I don't think they lasted very
You
long.
covered them with the wallpaper.
Yeah, it was like, but it wasn't like the paste wall. It was like sticky
It was a
wallpaper,
sticky-
like
and you just-
like a sticker. Yeah, so I wrapped it around, and they were white. They were like pearlized white,
They
like
were white.
yeah, like Peter's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I was like trying to be like Peter Criss, yeah. So I did that, and of course, everything, the paper went around perfect, but as soon as I put the lugs back on and I tweaked them, it just
Cracked and
Yeah,
burnt
just-
right at the lungs, right?
Yeah.
So
my
cheesy.
beautiful like
And you're just going, no, right?
no, because it just
No,
bent.
no,
it
yeah,
bent
bends
all
it
the
in.
it in and stuff. It looked horrible. So I was like, oh man, this isn't quite working out. So I played those for a while, and so there was Greg. So Kurt brought Greg into the story, and then there was Ted Heath, and then there was a guy named Robert Ross, and so that was the 4 Kiss members. So we had our 4 Kiss members.
Guys.
Yeah, and so I was the first one to get an instrument. So we had cut like wooden, like paneling out
To make guitars.
to make guitars.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
I remember asked my dad to do the same thing. Can you make me do a flying V?
Yeah,
Can you just cut? I don't. Doesn't have to do it. Just literally cut
Yeah,
out the
I'll
sheet
just-
so I can jump around.
Yeah.
Put a towel in my shirt, and jump around like a moron on the front
yeah.
yard.
So I would just, they would jump. I had a real instrument,
So
but
what would they
yeah,
do? Just jump around.
yeah, they just jump around and then they make the guitar sounds with their
Wait,
mouth.
That's even better.
Or we'd probably put the album on. We were probably just lip sync. Well, they were lip sync because I was actually playing. Yeah.
I could put on a live too, right?
Yeah,
Oh
so
my
then-
God, there's a crowd and everything.
Yeah.
Right?
So
Adrenaline just.
yeah. So I think Ted got a they had like at these pawn shops too. They didn't have like real Gibson. Like they had like
A Hondo,
yeah,
right?
but
Some
they
of the
look like
other
a Les Paul. Yeah.
It looks like
It looks like a Les Paul.
Right?
Isn't this kind of what
Right, a
Ace plays? I
Hondo,
guess.
some weird
some weird
Lavelle,
off-brand.
weird,
Yeah. So he started taking lessons. So he knew because what do they teach you? Johnny Be Good or something like that. That's like one of the first.
Blues changes.
Yeah. So yeah, and so I remember when we first started playing music, we couldn't play the song all the way through. So we did a medley. We did a Kiss medley because all we knew was like the main parts
Just
of the
the main
song.
riff.
So we'd like go da 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 da, and then it would go into some other
Something
Kiss
else, yeah,
song.
like calling it, that's all you know. That's all you need to know.
And then it'd be dung and dung,
Right?
dung and dung.
The first three chords.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly, yeah. And so yeah, so it got better because and I think the other two guys they never got instruments.
They never did.
No, they
Aw.
never.
Greg
yeah,
never played.
yeah. Greg never played, and neither did Robert. And so I think one time I was just fooling around, and I broke Greg's guitar. Like I just wanted to do like a Paul Stanley, right? Like a Pete Townsend. Yeah, and I did it, but I didn't do it in front of him, so it wasn't like, hey, look what I'm gonna do. And so he comes to rehearsal, his air rehearsal.
Oh, his air rehearsal.
His air rehearsal. And it's just
Wait a
shattered
minute,
because
yeah.
I don't even think I picked it up.
It was just
shattered.
Wait, so you smashed on the ground and just left
and
it?
just left it there. And just left it
In
on
the
ground.
garage, yeah. And so he goes, he's like, "What did you
What did you
do?"
do?
I'm like, I made this guitar.
not
This is
real.
my guitar,
Yeah,
and it's not even a
real.
guitar. It's just a
not
piece of
real,
panel.
Yeah. But it's mine.
I remember
But
he
it was
almost
mine.
cried. He almost
Oh,
cried.
bad.
Yeah, he almost cried.
All right,
Aw.
with the drums, I gotta ask you this: when did the coveted Vistalite kit come to?
Okay, do you?
Because that was the ad.
Yeah, but I want to go back to where you made the transition too, though. Okay, but since you asked, okay, this hurts. This is
Love
this
that
is
kit. That was the
bittersweet.
envy.
Musicians
Okay.
in the audience, brace yourself.
Yeah. So
I love that kit.
remember, it was Lakewood Music.
Al Cayley.
Al Cayley.
At the mall, yeah.
Yeah, at the mall. And so it was right in the window. That kit was right in the window. And it's the same kit that John Bonham. And by this time, I had moved on. My musical taste had broadened, and I was still into Kiss, but there was other musical tastes that were coming in. So then Led Zeppelin was like, oh my gosh, and then John Bonham, and I was like, oh my gosh, and then I saw that kit, and I was like, this is John Bonham's kit. This is
Exactly.
it. The same size, everything. I got to get it.
Describe it for those that don't know.
It's an orange transparent Ludwig drum kit. And so his was a 4-piece. This was 5-piece, right? His was 4, right?
4.
Yeah. But I think maybe his bass drum was bigger because I think
He's
this,
24 or 6. He played huge.
It was-
It looked huge.
it looked bigger because these were.
maybe 24. I don't know.
I think 24 is a small. Right? That's a
24 is
small.
big. 22 is a standard.
Okay, it was a 20. It was 22. Yeah.
But it was shallow, right? Like a 16.
Yeah, it wasn't that big.
It was, yeah. It was more, yeah.
So his kit always looked, even though I had
Nice.
another Tom, but I think his bass drum was bigger. Yeah. But his kit was the same as the
Yeah.
orange Vistalite, and I just remember that it had these stickers on it, and it said don't use certain cleaners on it because it'll scratch
Oh,
it
the
and stuff.
plastic.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like it's
acrylic,
it's
right?
acrylic. Yeah. And so I always took such care of those things, right? And I was like, okay, I use like a diaper and I
Aw.
polished them. So
Yeah.
I kept it up really, really well. And so yeah, that was the kit that I played, through most of that, the heyday, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, I didn't know it at the time, but when I started doing some session, well, it makes it sound better than it is, but I did some session work,
Yeah.
some studio work.
Yeah.
By then,
and-
you were already playing in the full-fledged band.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in bands that were actually playing decent music and stuff like that. And so those drums are loud.
Yeah, they are.
Those
They
things are
project.
so loud. Like when you have wood shells, they absorb some of the sound and they sound a little mellower.
Shoot, acrylic.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Soft.
It doesn't shoot it.
No,
it just goes
projects,
everywhere. Yeah. Like
There's
if you
no
have.
porous material, so it just projects everywhere.
Yeah, because the fiber shells, like the Tamas and some of those things will project the sound. But these
loud.
ones,
They
it
were
went
loud.
everywhere. And I didn't realize that until I got in the studio.
They were loud.
So what we had to do is they had to isolate me from the rest of the band. Like we built walls, like
Little gobos, yeah.
yeah,
You
yeah.
have to.
We had to
Yeah.
build walls, and then we padded the thing down to where it sounded so horrible.
Just dead.
But through the reverb and
You can
it
get a
sounded
room.
good.
Yeah, you can reach
Yeah.
it, yeah.
But we had to basically
Wow.
diminish everything that drum originally sounded like. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of sad.
Yeah, so I don't know if Bonham brought those drums into the studio or not, but those would have been a pain to record because that drum set was loud.
And then tell everybody where did that kid end up?
The eventual story. Okay, so since it was one of my first big purchases as a kid, and it was like, I don't know, it was maybe $700 or $900 or something like that.
That's a lot of
And
money.
yeah, I'm still a kid, I'm still going to high
That's a
school and
lot.
stuff. And so, yeah, I kept it all these years up to maybe a couple years ago, and it was in the garage and it was covered. I still have my North.
You got the North Toms, which are
Yeah, I still have
great.
those. Yeah.
Oh my God! Look that up, anybody, if you don't know what North Drums. It was a company, short-lived company, but look them up. They're
Yeah.
unique. You'll never see anything.
They were like tuba drums, right? They had like
look
a tuba.
tubas, literally.
Yeah, like an upside down tuba. Anyways, but I had those. They were smaller, so that was the addition I had because smaller drums don't project, and we never mic'd things when we went live. So when we did shows and stuff when we did clubs and stuff, we
Yeah.
mic'd it up. But when we just did like backyards and garages and stuff,
Yeah.
we never mic'd them
No.
up because they were fine. But those because the North were smaller, I think it was a 6 and an 8,
They
maybe.
were small, yeah.
Yeah, so that they were louder. So they actually went with the Ludwig Vistalite sound. You know what I mean? They could hold their own against that loudness. So anyways, flash forward to a couple years ago. We have friends of the family, and they had little ones, and they were musically oriented. And so I really, because they didn't have a lot of money too, they were nice people, but they were kind of down on their luck. And so their daughter was the age of Amanda at the time. So I was just like, you know what? This drum set is in the garage.
Sitting.
It's just sitting there.
Yeah.
I'll clean it up. I'll bring it up to. I even brought it up to standards. Like I changed the hoops out. I fixed it up because the hoop was cracked. That fiber.
Yeah.
The bass drum
Yeah.
hoop.
Yeah.
It had a crack in it. So I replaced that and I cleaned it up for him and everything. And so then I just gave the drum set to them, and I told them, I just said, take care of it. But this is like a 9 or 10-year-old kid. Yeah. He's not going to take care of it. Yeah. Or I'll just scratch it because those shells they scratch real easily. So then just okay. So after I gave it to him, I was just like, I felt like, yeah, I'm a good guy. I started like, yeah, you know what? That was a nice thing you did, Art.
Maybe it'll inspire him.
Yeah,
with
maybe
the
it'll.
musician.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he'll go on to do something, And then and this is where I made the mistake. I went and I Googled it. I Googled Vistalite Ludwig from, this had to have been 78,
Yeah, you're a kid.
77, 78
Oh no.
that I bought this kit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's vintage. And so then I'm looking like, David Grohl's
Everybody
using
wants
it.
them. No, everybody
That guy
wants
from the
those
Muse
kits.
Muse is using them. Like
And
everybody's
they
using these.
become the hot, like everybody makes them now.
Oh my,
Companies,
yeah,
companies.
they're making them again,
Yeah.
but this was the
It
drum,
rare.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was the John Bonham colors, so it already had like an appeal to it, and so I looked it up. It was like 15 grand. I think this 5-piece was
For an
worth.
original, yeah.
Right, and okay, you remember this? It had the Speed King
It did the pedal.
drum pedal.
And then now the snare, was it the
It was the
the
Vistalite
It
snare.
was the Vistalite snare.
I kept
But you
the.
you had a chrome snare, like a regular.
I still
one,
have
too.
that.
You
Yeah, I
do.
think that was a Tama snare.
It is it?
I think so.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's metal. That
Yeah.
thing sounds
It's loud,
really
right? It's
cool.
really loud.
Yeah, because it's got that metal.
You did have the Vistalite snare. I
Yeah,
don't think
I
ever
gave
saw
that
you
to
use
them.
it. Oh,
No,
you
I
did?
never used it
I
because
never saw
I didn't like the way it sounded.
Oh.
And also, I think it was shallower.
It was thin.
Yeah.
I just don't remember seeing you like playing it on a gig.
No, I had it sometimes, like if I break a
You
head.
just kept it with
Yeah,
you.
I kept it with me because I don't know if you know this, Taylor. Sometimes, like when you're playing live, you'll break a drum head, and it's usually a snare head
Yeah.
because the snare is what you're pounding
Swapping
really,
out
really.
quick.
Yeah. And so then you can swap them out. You can just take that drum off and then put the other drum in. So I used it as a backup, but it wasn't my lead drum
No.
because that Thomas snare was
Yeah.
deep. So it sounded, because I liked Alex Van Halen's.
Yeah, and you hit the rim a lot, right?
Yeah, I would always hit the rim.
guy.
Yeah, I was a big rim guy. So it just, man, it cut through all the
did.
sound. Yeah.
It did.
So anyway, so what was your transition from Kiss to actual musician? I hope you guys are enjoying this
I hope so too.
because this is a lot of fun.
Just
Yeah.
for a moment, that drum story I think had an impact on Christ Energetics in the chat. 'Cause he's also a musician.
Oh, and Christ Energetics, John did the music for the Black and White Indiegogo. So if you listen, check it out.
Nice.
So all I told him, Scott, is I said he's a spy, like he's an ex-spy, like Black is an
Yeah.
ex-spy, and I said I love the surf like Bond.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, dun, 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 dun.
yeah.
And so he came up with this whole surf guitar thing. So we actually have our own theme song for Black
For
and
that.
White. Yeah. So
Oh,
if you guys
that's so
haven't checked,
cool.
yeah, if you guys haven't checked the Indiegogo, go there just to listen to the music. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
a title says about the drum set thing. If I did that, cookies would have been thrown.
Cookies would have been thrown.
Keys. Well, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, no, I think my brother was in bands before me. You know, he'd had a band
Ronnie.
with Ronnie, yeah, and with people you probably know, the drummer being this guy Richard Fisher, who
Okay.
you might have known, yeah, who lived closer to you actually, and they used to rehearse in the garage, you know, where we lived in Norwalk, and he would leave his kit. So the first time I remember like thinking, this is it, like this is my chance to actually sit behind drums because they had finished practicing, and I'm gonna go in there. The garage is unlocked. I'm just gonna sit to see what it feels like. I just want to see what it feels like. And I remember it's so vivid. I remember the seat being cold, the way the seat felt. It was way too high because I'm still really small. And I remember his sticks were sitting there on the bass drum, like you always just pick your stick. And I picked one up, and I remember hitting the drum like for the first time, like having the feel of that stick. It was all splintery because he hit the rim too, so it was all splintery in my hand, hitting the drum. And I remember getting like this jolt, like it scared me for a second,
Yeah.
because it was something so like it just
And it's loud.
yeah.
And it's powerful, right? Can you feel it?
Yeah, I felt it, and I just remember it, just literally feeling it like through my whole body, just hitting the drum, the tom, and it, ringing, and it was just like this visceral, like I could put something to, like I feel it, like I could hit the drum and feel like it was something tangible to me, and I didn't know what it was, but I wanted to feel it more. I wanted to play, even though I had no idea how to play drums. I didn't own even a pair of sticks. But that was the first time I think I just like I have to do it. Like I have to know how to do this.
Did you have a natural, like, just rhythm, like when you first started, like just the basic, like boom bop, or boom bop bop, boom bop, or boom boom bop, boom boom bop?
I'll tell you, and I know people say that, oh, I could just always play, there was a natural, I don't know why, I can't explain it, but at least I was able to do something the first time I sat down.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you probably
That's
felt
why I
it,
brought it up, because I
but
did
you
too.
probably felt
Yeah.
like I could do that. Like I could. I don't know. I haven't done it, but I think I could. Like
And I didn't even know it was really a gift until like you
Yeah.
have like your friends try to do it or
And you're
something like
sitting
that.
there,
And
yeah,
then you're
like,
like, wait a minute.
I
because
can,
because
yeah.
you could tap the hi-hat, right? You
Yeah.
could go
Yeah. And I remember
Yeah.
thinking like, I'm pretty sure that I could do something. It might not be great. And I remember my brother going, you gotta just play, him, Mr. Visual.
By the way, Scott's like doing these gyrations.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
like
I'm
he's
actually
playing,
air drumming.
He's air
making
drumming right now.
faces,
Yeah.
but my brother's just Mr. Rocket. You gotta rock out and just do it. and maybe it was because he was standing there too. I was nervous.
He's your older
He's
brother
my older
too.
brother,
Yeah.
And so I just kind of was able to, your hand moves with your right, your right hand moves with your right foot and your left hand, but I could still kind of play a groove. Like I could
Yeah.
something.
So you could move.
And I knew.
You could move
Yeah.
the 3 parts of your body
And get some
differently.
beat. Yeah.
Because like the thing
Yeah.
about drumming is you can be doing 4 things, but
Yeah.
usually when you start, you're not really doing too much
You
hi-hat
don't- you
work.
can't- yeah,
So
and
you
you can't
usually don't do too
disconnect.
much with your
Yeah,
left foot.
yeah.
But you can pretty much like tap with your right
Yeah,
hand,
yeah.
hit with the snare,
Yeah.
and then keep some kind of beat with your
and whether
foot.
that's from listening to a song, well, that's kind of the radio or a song, but
Yeah.
like I could just for whatever reason play at least a simple little beat.
Yeah.
And then once that happened, and you probably felt the same thing, it's like, oh my god, like I'm closer to like I can do something,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I think I could, of course just me. Oh my god, now I'm going to start a band.
Yeah, you get
and I
overambitious.
can play. Yeah, I can,
I'm gonna paint my face white.
Start calling everybody. Yeah. Come in here. You got to see this.
Do you have a garage I
Yeah,
can play in?
exactly. And I don't
I need a
have anything.
backyard.
I didn't own anything. Drums, sticks. I didn't have sticks. But I remember breaking. Used to get little flags at the circus and stuff. Breaking the little pole in half, and that was my stick.
That was your stick?
For a while. That was it. That was my drum.
So how old
sticks.
were you when you got your first drum kit?
God, it was right after the whole Paulin thing, so 8.
Wow, okay.
Young.
Probably 8. It was just like a, like you said, some cheap. I think it was actually like not even a real kit. It was metal or something, and it had a bass drum pedal and 4 toms. But it wasn't even real. I don't even think it had hi hats. It was just a ride cymbal mounted onto the bass drum.
Under the bass drum, I remember those.
On
Yeah.
a little pole.
Yeah.
And then later
That was your
on-
ride cymbal.
That was
yeah.
my ride cymbal. And then later on, I don't know if you remember Pratt and Sons Music at Patterson Square.
Yes.
I got a real, just little 3-piece, the 1 tom, a bass, tiny little 18-inch bass drum, and what they called like a jazz kit with actually it had a single head tom.
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
And I had that forever. And that's my Vista Light. I wish I had held on to that.
Well, what? It was off brand? It was a Slingerland?
Yeah.
What was this? You had a green kit.
I had
when
the
saw it.
green one.
That was the Slingerland set?
I had the Slingerland kit. There was the blue kit that I think by the time I was playing around Norwalk, it was the blue Slingerland. It was
Okay.
a weird blue, like a turquoise.
Okay, that's why I think
kinda-
it's green. Yeah.
It was weird. It was a really.
Seafoam.
It was a
Seafoam,
weird.
yeah.
It was a really odd blue.
Did it
Yeah.
have the metal flakes?
No. It was just flat, and it was wrapped because after a while the wrap started because we played outside all the time. The moisture, I think,
Oh, it
started
was.
to unwrap.
But they were wood shells, right?
They were wood shells.
Yeah.
With just wrapped, but they were great. So
Yeah.
That's another kit. I wish, and I think I traded that for eventually the Bozio kit with the rototoms.
The Rototoms?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I traded that to
And that-
Downey Music. Oh yeah, kid, them. Yeah, we'll give you $top dollar. For the. I think it paid for a third of the whole
Yeah,
other kit.
you trade. Well, we
Yeah.
did because
Oh,
we never had money, and so Downey Music
Yeah.
was the big. That was
That was it.
our
They had
mecca.
everything, yeah.
It had, and even looking back, it was just slightly more rock and roll oriented
Yeah.
than the other music stores.
Yeah.
And
long hair guys working there.
yeah, and actually, I remember Randy Rhoads actually taught guitar there. So like those guys would guitar teachers. Most of the guitar players would augment money
Yeah.
by doing teaching,
course,
taking
teaching.
lessons and stuff like that. And
Repairs
so
and
usually they
repairs.
didn't just teach out of one school. They would go or one art or what would be like one store.
Yeah.
They would go to other stores, and a lot of music stores or the better music stores where they would have like soundproof rooms in the back. So they would give lessons to kids, and a lot of the straight up stores would mostly give lessons like tuba or like marching band stuff like
Yeah.
flute and,
Oh, yeah,
and
concert
trumpet,
stuff,
concert
school,
stuff,
you
yeah.
know.
But some of the cooler ones would have like guitar lessons and drum lessons and stuff like that. Yeah. So I just remember.
Did you take lessons there?
No.
Did you ever? No. You
I-
never did, right? You never.
I
studied with
I was
them.
all self-taught, but the thing is, I never had time.
Yeah.
Like I was
You were
always
working,
working,
you
and I was
started
going to
working.
school, so I never really had time to spend in too much of that education. But I did learn because I had a friend that was studying music, and she wanted to go like all the way. I think she was going USC or something like that. Like this is still high school, but she was going to go, the full thing. So she was in the marching band, and so she knew how to read sheet music and things like that. So she taught me how to read basic drum music.
Okay.
So I could, that's where I learned like the paradiddles
Oh,
and
yeah.
flamadiddles and
Yeah.
like all those different things. So that's where tap, tap, tap,
Yeah,
tap,
yeah, of
tap,
course.
left, right,
Which is
all those
great.
things.
Yeah.
Hit both together,
Yeah.
but I that's where I actually started learning like what these things were called and,
Yeah.
how to read basic music.
Stickings and,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, all those things. So that's probably like my more academic
Yeah.
aspect, and that came probably midway through my
Okay,
playing.
'cause you're already playing.
Yeah. So how about you?
As far as studying and stuff,
Yeah.
or taking lessons, I actually did take lessons there. It didn't last. There was a guy. I remember
Downey?
His name was Paul. Yeah. This
Okay.
guy, I thought he was cool looking. He had the Rod Stewart, kind of hair, spiky, and I thought this guy's a real drum because he was playing. Of course, there was always guys playing. Remember, you go to Downey Music, there's some guy.
But he was
sitting
the
on
salesman,
kit.
right?
He did.
He was
work
the
behind
drum
counter.
department,
It was
right?
Mike and Paul.
I
Mike was
remember-
the
I remember
redheaded
that guy. Yeah,
was
yeah.
the redhead. Paul was the cool. He always had the sunglasses hanging.
Yeah.
For sure. Hey,
Hey, come in
yeah,
here.
come in here.
You want a cowbell?
Yeah, exactly. Clearly, I don't need one, but he
Yeah.
just convinced me that I did. That splash cymbal. I think, yeah, you need one of these.
Yeah.
A splash cymbal. So I wound up taking lessons for him. I think it was the third lesson or so. He yelled at me over something. I don't even remember what it was, and that was kind of it. I thought, I don't know if this is supposed to be.
What did he yell at you
I
about?
forget what it was about. We were working out of the Carmine Apiece realistic rock book. Great book. I recommend the book, even after all these. I think they reprinted it. It's a great book. And I just maybe wasn't up to snuff with the lesson, but I mean, he just went nuts, probably over something else maybe that he was already angry about. But my mom heard it. She was outside the practice room, and that was it. And that was it. She pulled me, yanked me
You
out of
don't
there.
talk to
You
my
don't talk to
son
my
like this. Yeah.
How
And
old were you at
I
that
was
time?
probably, let me think, because I was already playing a little bit, so I'm going to guess that was probably 79, 89, 10?
Wow.
Yeah, but he just went nuts.
He lost
went
his
crazy.
patience.
Yeah, and he apologized, and even, I think even the guy at the store had said, hey, is it cool? Is everything okay? Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, my mom was not happy.
But even in the day,
we're done.
like when you saw people like that, was it Paul or the guy with the Rod Stewart hair?
yeah.
You were like, that's what I want to
That's
be.
a rocker.
Like that's a rocker.
Guy's playing
Right.
Yeah, he plays drums. I bet he has drums all over that.
Yeah.
The house, his
Yeah.
coffee table's like a drum.
Yeah.
Everything, and he's just there's chicks everywhere.
Yeah.
Because he always looked cool. He always had
Yeah.
the cool shirt unbuttoned. and
Because
his
that's
glasses
why
hanging.
that Randy Rhoads story stands out because like we didn't have access to like rock. Remember
No.
a la carte or like George
yeah,
Nicks?
those guys are
like,
going. Oh my god!
Yeah, they were
these guys are
certain
real.
Yeah, they were real
They're
rockers.
real
yeah.
rockers, man.
Or even like Roger Appel, who
Roger
like the
too.
TKO, like that
Roger
guy
too.
looked like a rocker.
Right.
Like even in high school, you're like, oh, that
Sunglasses,
guy's a
that guy's
rocker.
gonna do
That guy's
stuff.
a rocker.
That's a
Yeah.
rocker.
If you wore like a long sleeve shirt,
That's it.
that was kind of pulled down
That's
and
it.
it was striped,
That's it. You
Yeah.
look cool.
like
Right.
Freddy
You
Krueger,
look
like
You look cool with the striped shirt.
Yeah, that was like, yeah.
Hair messy.
Yeah,
Unique
yeah,
rocker right there.
yeah, exactly. And so when that guy walked in, I was like, "Who's that guy?" And the guy says, "It's Randy Rhoads."
Yeah.
And so I don't know who Randy, I don't know anything.
Well,
But then all these
5'3",
years, and then you see him play for Ozzy, and you
Yeah.
see all that stuff, and you're like, "That's that guy. That's that Quiet
And
Riot
he
guy."
looks
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and he
Right?
looked cool
like
because
a
that's
rock
why
guy.
you remember. That's why you remember
the
that guy.
bottoms and the cool shirt.
Yeah. And I was like, oh god. And then you hear him because you could always still hear, even though they were supposedly soundproof, but you could hear him warming up, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my
shit.
gosh,
That's somebody great, right?
that's somebody
That's
good.
somebody
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
And that's kind of that rock guy, the Paul guy. He was really good. I mean, even as a kid, you're just going, holy crap! Like this guy's a real,
Yeah, you got.
a real drummer, like a real. Guy.
Oh, here we go.
Classic,
Okay.
classic, right?
Yeah.
So you look at this, and you think of course, the first thing that stands out is, for one, Ace Frehley's silver hair, and then the other thing is Peter Criss's makeup. And I had learned years later that the only time, the reason that appeared only on that record is he was too lazy to do the makeup himself, and he had an artist do it for him, and that's why it wound up looking like that.
That looks like a lot of work.
It's a lot
Yeah.
of work. It never did. You never saw him.
It's
look
a
like
lot
that
of work
again.
with
Yeah.
very little payoff.
With very little. Not much. It's not the Peter that you.
Okay, I want to ask you one thing because I have a theory and I've heard the stories and stuff, but I don't think they're true. Okay, I know Gene Simmons is a big comic book guy, a huge comic
Yeah,
book guy.
yeah.
Okay, so I know Paul could take it or leave it, and those were the driving force in the band.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you could see how it went years later.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, they say that each one of them came up with their own character and their own makeup.
I've heard them say that. I've heard.
But there's an
images,
art direction to all four of those guys.
black
and
and black, and then
They
the
all
red.
fit
Yeah.
a motif,
Yeah.
which makes me think. I design, I draw.
Yeah.
If you had four people coming up with their own makeup, they wouldn't look as coherent as this. As a group. They would look more like this
Yeah.
type of stuff.
Yeah.
These three have a harmony, and then later on, Peter became more harmonious with the other four.
Yeah.
So I always
They have the
thought,
same general style.
Yeah, they
right?
do.
I always thought like that Gene, since he was the comic book guy, he doesn't take credit for it though. I have a theory. He came up because they're four
You think
iconic.
he came up with them, like
The whole concept.
the general direction.
Yeah,
like, this is what you're
because
gonna be.
Paul gets the like, oh, he's the leader or he's the brains behind it. Maybe musically, but I think just as far as conceptually, it seems more like a comic book guy came up with this
Oh, no,
idea.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. But I don't know if you know this, Paul didn't always have that makeup.
which the star?
Yeah, he didn't. It was a bandit. It was like he had like a Lone Ranger drawn on his face, and it only lasted for probably not even too long after this era, the first record. I mean,
Was he
there's
still-
There's photos. I mean, there's well documented pictures of him with that, but they always called it the bandit, and then at some point
The love child or whatever.
and then
it
he
was
became
called.
the Star Child. Yeah.
Star Child.
And I always thought that he just, Rockstar Supreme, that whole thing. And I'd heard stories about, and if you'd seen pictures like of them with the makeup in the early days, where they didn't even have the white makeup, it was just the black.
Oh, I see. This
I
is
have
the
photos.
historian. You got to
Yeah.
bring those
Oh, I
in.
do.
Yeah, I would
have
like to
some,
see
and
those.
The Gene
We'll do those
makeup
on another
isn't
show.
so refined. It's actually just more raccoony. He has black around his eyes and black lipstick, and there's no white. They don't.
Well, I mean, there was offshoots of this later because
Oh,
then
yeah.
he had like the blue around
Oh
the
yeah,
eyes,
and
and then he
Peter
had the
had
green.
Remember, he put green.
Yeah, the green.
and he'd have.
But this is
whiskers.
art directed though.
Yeah, I would definitely.
So either they
definitely
hired somebody to come in and there was some sketches done.
and say, hey, you're the space. Like, I want to do a spaceman thing.
They
Yeah.
might have come up with the names themselves, but not the concept.
But if you
Yeah.
see that makeup, like the ones when they were playing, there's a famous photos of them playing a place called the Coventry, which is the first club that supposedly I guess it's the first time that they ever actually, donned the makeup and stuff. It's very similar. Like that's the makeup. Like you could see where it was going, even without the white makeup. Like you could see each guy had their thing. Yeah, it wasn't as refined as.
So maybe they
is
came up
this.
with it initially.
But initially, yeah.
So maybe
Yeah.
just to back up, so maybe they were because I think it was Paul. Was it Paul's book, Taylor, that he talked about
About
the makeup, but that they all
refining it.
well, not refining it.
But
Just
just
he said that they
design
all
it.
came up with their own characters.
I don't remember what he said. Did he actually say that?
I thought it was in Paul Stanley's
Paul Stanley
autobiography.
Well, in the chat, Wraith Thulu says back when they were Wicked Lester, the makeup was different. And I don't
So
know.
maybe
Wicked
that was
Lester.
maybe
And
that
then
was
Wicked-
before Kiss.
Well, Wicked Lester was before Kiss, and then Wicked Lester sort of evolved into Kiss without the other guys. It was Paul
And
I
Gene,
think
right?
Gene, and then I'm trying to think of the other guy. I want to say Stan Pendridge might have been in Wicked Lester, but it was
It wasn't-
Steve Cornell. A guy named Steve Cornell was in who was a friend of Paul's, and then that they got dropped. I think they did one record. I think with Epic got dropped, and then evolved into what would be Kiss. But Wicked Lester just looked like a hippie band. I mean, I have photos of them. I actually have some of the on the box set they gave you the record. The Wicked Lester sounded nothing. You could see where the Kiss influence, like definitely where it was going, but they didn't look anything like that. They were just like a hippie. They looked like a hippie band.
Well, I mean, I always thought.
Glammy, maybe a little.
Well, I
glammy.
always thought Kiss and just their motif was very psychedelic, hippie.
No, in
anyway.
the beginning, they
like
did,
Kiss.
totally.
Kiss doesn't even seem like it defines the band. You know what I mean? If you think about it, like it
The
seems
name itself.
the name itself,
It
yeah.
evokes one thing, like something else, maybe. Right?
Yeah,
The-
but even like Deep Purple, like there were band names that you just go, this is so
Okay.
derivative of that time.
Yeah.
Like
Deep Purple,
Deep
man.
Purple,
Yeah,
like
man,
hey man, like
cool.
oh dude,
Yeah.
Kiss man,
Yeah.
like like it's like all that kind of like man, that's kind of deep, weird, like yeah, because Kiss, I think hindsight, I wouldn't have called my band Kiss. Like
I don't know where they came from.
Wicked Lester's way better,
Which is great.
Twisted
which is
Sister,
great. And
Wicked
then I
Lester.
think isn't it? Yeah, right. Twisted Sister, but I mean, it definitely, of course, now in hindsight, can't think of them being called anything else. But I don't.
But
know.
I think what made it cool is later they started getting real angular with the lettering,
Oh, yeah.
and it started like the logos
Yeah.
type started changing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought like
And the
Kiss.
logo's gone through so many changes.
The only
too.
one I ever thought like Kiss, might have been like a Paul Stanley thing. It seems like it would have been a Paul
Yeah.
Stanley name.
I think it is him. And then of course Ace Frehley says that he came up with the logo, but I think Paul did.
The look of the logo.
Yeah, like the actual, that aesthetic.
Well, they get
everybody
a
knows.
lot of crap because they said this looks like the SS.
And they couldn't use the sign in Germany. Notoriously,
Yeah.
they couldn't use the sign when they toured over in
Yeah.
Germany. They had the. If you see that, there's pictures too. The S's are different. They're just round and
As
Right.
a kid,
Yeah.
I just thought they looked like lightning bolts.
like everybody
Yeah.
did.
Exactly,
Like,
yeah.
Man, lightning
Yeah.
bolts. But
That's
yeah, I mean, it's
Ooh.
it's what you just always in that cover just means. It's such a huge part of my childhood. It was just everywhere.
Well, you
was-
talk about comic
It
book
was
characters. Look at that.
everywhere, But that picture was everywhere, and I just remember the TV ads and the radio ads and
For Love Gun?
for Love Gun. Like it was just, we talk about bands like we had conversations with. I remember you talking one time about when Wings were coming to LA, the media blitz around that. It was on TV. It was everywhere. They were television. They were just shoving it down your throat. And was with Love Gun.
Yeah, rock and roll actually was advertised
on TV.
on-
I remember seeing a commercial for Fleetwood Mac at the Forum.
Yeah.
Right after the Kiss shows.
Well, there were
right
huge
after.
promoters. Wolf and
Rissmiller was
Rissmiller,
Avalon
Attractions.
presents-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now there's only like Ticketmaster, and I think
and
they've
Clear
just
Nation.
Yeah, they've
owns
dominated
everything.
Yeah, they
right?
dominated
Right?
everything. Yeah.
But,
So
I mean, what do you think of when you see this cover?
I think of my childhood. I think
Right?
of comic
It was
books.
everywhere.
Kin Kelly.
Yeah.
It was a great painting. I just think I think a lot of comic book people put Kin Kelly up on like a pedestal.
Because of this, you think?
He does fantasy and comic book type illustration too, but that's again one of the crossover things. Like I just think Kiss and comic books are almost synonymous.
Oh, yeah.
They've been in so many comic
Right?
books at this point.
Cartoons as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
This looks like a really cool sci-fi action vintage movie.
Look at that,
Yeah.
right?
And I think he just captured I was an Ace Frehley guy because
It
like
looks
look
so cool.
he just
It just looks cool,
yeah,
right?
I don't
Just
really
the
care.
area, yeah.
And he's
and
like
it's
whatever.
His personality, yeah. I don't really
Yeah.
care.
He's like whatever.
Now, looking at this, and we'll talk about this maybe another time too, because we could spend forever. Do you see the correlation between this and maybe White Hot, the cover?
Oh, the angel
Yeah,
thing?
Yeah.
White hot.
With
What?
them standing with the glow and
they're
the
burning
wind
at the stake or something.
sort of standing there glowing and
Maybe,
they're
but
very similar.
But it's
They
more
are.
like people like these girls are like yeah, but in that
These
one
guys are
the
thuggy
village
looking, they're-
the village were burning them.
It kind of, that's what it kind of looks.
No, that's what they
Is that
were
what it
doing. They
is?
had pitchforks and everything. They
It's
were
like the angelic glow.
no, they were
Is it
they
off
were
of the
tied to
White
a
Hot?
stake.
Are they tied?
Yeah, dude.
Oh my god, I never noticed that they're tied.
Well, bring that up. They're being burnt like heretics. They're like witches.
I didn't notice that. I always thought that White Hot was just them sort of angelic and then the ugliness around them. Like
No.
the guy, because of the knife. Remember, there's a
No, they have
knife at
pitchforks.
some
Yeah,
point.
those are the villagers burning them, Scott.
See, I saw something
got
entirely
it.
different. Look at me,
But-
am I a naive child? Yeah.
The cool thing about that
Look at
album,
them. Look at them.
they're being
Oh,
worshipped like
worshipped.
gods, just like Love
gods,
Gun.
yeah, like gods. like the rock gods they are.
No, this is the opposite of this Love
Look
Gun
at them.
album.
Look at
Because
them.
the thing is, I think about that album because I haven't seen it in years, but I think that opens up as a gatefold as well, right? And on the back, you're just seeing the angry villagers, and it looks like a village. It looks like an old world, like a European
It does look
village.
European. It
And
does.
maybe the reason you thought they were angelic is because it's white flame.
Yeah, you know
Yeah.
what? I see. I pulled it up right now. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like white
You can't
flame, but they're
really-
tied up. Their hands are behind
Oh my
their
God,
backs.
No, I never realized
Yeah,
their
if you-
hands are behind their backs. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Hey, let me see.
If you
Is
go-
there any information I
if
won't
you-
dox you?
You're right.
What?
Will I dox you if I put it in front of the
Oh
camera?
no, you can do that.
Okay.
They are
Here's-
being
Take a look at
burned.
it,
You know
you
what?
guys.
I
Here's
never
here's the cover
realized.
right here,
Oh my God, they are tied up.
and it's not like flame, but it's
But they're
definitely
behind
white
your
because it's
right.
called white
Well,
hot.
I think it's because the stakes are glowing. They don't read as stakes right away. Because when I first saw it, I thought they were beams of light coming down.
Yeah,
And then once you said they were tied up, I'm like, oh yeah, they're.
I think they're meeting their makers,
and
dude.
they're meeting,
They're
you know,
meeting their
they're here to
makers.
bring good to the villagers.
Maybe they were initially
Then they
good rock and roll,
Well,
and
if
then
you
they
look in
burned
the
it.
background,
Just like a
the
savior.
buildings are on fire and
Look.
stuff. Like there's chaos
Look,
going
Yeah,
on.
well,
Angel.
on the back of the, because it wraps. Like the villagers, are like they're raising,
Angry.
they're raising
You
hell.
know, that's a pretty
Look,
cool
aren't they
cover.
Aren't they neat?
Oh
Back-
yeah, here it is, the back cover.
Let me see.
Barely-
I don't want to dox you, but let me.
You can hold it up. There's no
Okay.
like. I don't
There's
see a
the
picture.
knife.
Okay, here
There's
you go, Scott.
There it is.
Yeah, it's like they caused
In
major
my own,
chaos.
they caused major chaos. Look at this. The whole town's burning.
Yeah, but I don't know if the band did this
Or
or
they
if the
do it.
villagers did this.
The villagers did it because they were so.
See, this is why it's a great cover. It
Wrapped
tells a
up.
really weird, interesting
It
story.
does
Yeah.
tell a story.
Do you ever hear the
I
Kansas
had-
one on the documentary? Like their first album was, oh gosh, it has a
The
story.
one with the guy with the John
Who
Brown.
was that?
Right?
John Brown, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
And they say it's like,
He's a horrible
and-
character.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
well, do you remember? Like the one guy says, it's like it was kind of like this perfectly weird, off-putting cover because
Yeah.
John Brown because the painting is in the Kansas City.
yeah.
The hall.
The hall, yeah,
Yeah.
like City
Yeah.
Hall, and so it's this huge painting. And they
Yeah.
said when they were young, they would stare at the painting and they were off put by the painting.
Because they
And
probably didn't know what it was about.
What he-
well,
he
the
burned
thing
Kansas,
is,
yeah,
the thing
burned
is,
Kansas
he's
and the
like
whole-
John Brown's in the middle of the composition, and there's like chaos going on behind him,
Around it,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
so on one hand he has the Bible, and on the other hand he has a gun, and they said like it's just kind of this weird, off-putting
Yeah.
like angelic,
Yeah.
and then like kind of war-oriented,
Yeah.
So it's just kind of this
He-
juxtaposition. And they said like it was kind of a fitting weird, you know what I mean, like Taylor was saying,
Yeah.
like what do you take from this? Like you can kind of
It
put
inspires your imagination,
Right?
like, to
Yeah.
fill in the blanks and create a really weird
But that's
story.
great art. Like it evokes
Yeah.
different things from different people.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the intention of.
but who
Angel.
knows? Yeah. Well, what
I
does
don't
this
even know
cover
who drew
say?
that.
What does
I
this
don't-
cover
This
say?
cover says,
Love
"Rock-
me."
love me." You know, I didn't get whatever. Buy it
There's
for
like an
Christmas for a
orange
kid.
moon
Now
behind them.
there is. There's like this orange, but do you get like that? They're definitely being worshipped,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where the angel goes, I didn't know. I didn't even realize their arms are behind them.
Yeah, they're not quite being
No.
worshipped. Yeah.
You know.
Okay,
yeah,
I-
they're not quite. Yeah,
I
they're
think
not being worshipped.
I have.
We keep seeing this. This is from Howard the Duck, you guys.
Mm,
Oh
okay.
yeah.
Ah, great cover.
Yeah.
Any Kiss fan knows that this was the original Destroyer cover with the other costumes, with the costumes from the previous tour era, and I guess notoriously, one of them, my baby Jean said that, hey, that's great, but it's the wrong. Yeah, we're wearing the wrong outfit.
Once again, a city's burning behind
City's burning
them.
behind them, and that's
They're-
great. I love that
And they're
cover.
rejoicing.
I love it, but I can't. Again, you see the Destroyer, and you can't picture him in any other, outfits. But I love this when they reissued the remixed version. Ken Kelly.
It's low res, but it's Ken Kelly. Yeah.
The reissued Destroyer Resurrected without all that washy reverb on it.
Let me see,
That
I-
was the cover that they used.
Oh, there's
And
the album that
and
started
there
for
it
me
is, and there it is. And that's my favorite logo. The purple logo has always been.
with the red
That's
transition.
my favorite.
Yeah.
That's always been my favorite.
Well,
logo.
I don't know these. Oh my gosh! I remember just staring
And
at
those
these
pictures,
images
you
for
just go like,
hours.
Oh
That's
my
the
god!
Peter Chris makeup that I always remember.
Yeah.
And there it is.
That's-
That's it. That's the makeup you always. That's
Yeah.
Peter. Yeah.
So I think we
That's a
have
great cover.
the Destroyer cover. We keep coming back to the Howard.
You
Oh,
have
this
the,
is
duck.
great.
you have the key.
This is from the Marvel superhero
That
version
is.
of Kiss.
That is.
And it talks about them and their
Oh,
alter egos.
Paul Stanley, the Star Child, Peter.
What was his thing in the movie? You just go ah,
He just made that noise. Yeah, he just
What?
made that sound. That was his dialect.
ah.
I mean, he spoke, but that was like his thing too, and I don't know what that meant.
Peter Chris, the cat.
The
as he
cat.
The
looks
cat,
amazing.
the
Right.
Star
It's in
Child,
the demon.
Space Ace. I always thought he should have been called Love Child or something because,
Love
like,
Child.
Space Ace, like, we're getting into similar territory, right?
It's like, I'm the
Stars.
Star
Star
Child. You can't be
Child.
the space.
Yeah,
Ace.
you can't. Like, come on, man. Come up with something more original, Paul.
Starman.
Star
Child.
Because they're both cosmic.
They are
you can't.
cosmic.
Yeah, you can't do
But
that.
one shoots a beam out of his eye in the comics.
Yeah, but Ace's
Actually, I think
guitar
they
shoots a
both
beam.
do.
They both shoot
I think
stuff.
Ace shows
They both
laser
shoot
out of his
beams.
guitar.
He sh-
He shoots a laser out of his
No.
guitar, man.
Oh, no.
Come on.
Oh, that is
There we
the
go.
second- the second
Kiss
one,
Corner
the
with
second
Scott
one.
Palacios. Where is this cover?
Yeah, I thought we had the other one
God.
up.
No, we don't. We don't have it. So we'll find it later.
Oh, swack, says everybody in the chat.
Whack.
Space Ace was Star Child's pilot. Oh.
Oh, that went a whole different.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not.
I don't know
Yeah.
the fictional backstory.
Well, Scott, do you have anything to add? You want?
I don't. You know, it's again the Kiss thing. You could just talk. I could just go on, and especially a whole other thing would be them announcing, of course, this end of the road tour. You know, which is great again. But if everybody remembers, there was the Legends Never Die tour. Which was 20 years ago, I think, already, or close to.
20
but not long
years,
after the
geez.
reunion. The reunion was great. I don't think it ever got that good again. And again, you're listening to someone that's a huge fan of every era of the band. I do. But I just think that...
You're a Kiss historian.
I'm a historian, but I just think the reunion, being the 96, 97 shows, that should have been it. That should have been it.
Ray Thulu in the chat says regarding that announcement, he says this time he believes it. He says Paul's voice and body just can't do
They
it
can't.
anymore.
I agree. It's really kind of, it's just, you hear some of this stuff, you know, the footage of them, you know, you hear the audio and stuff, and it's just enough. It's just
well, he's
enough.
never had a great voice.
Anyways, but
now it's
just gone. Yeah, it's really hard to listen to. It really is. I saw him. I think you saw him right after I did. You saw him somewhere else though. You were in another city.
I saw him in Texas.
and I saw him right before that when they came through LA.
Okay.
On the
And this was just a few years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Just a few years ago, and set list was great. The show was huge and great, but
And they're definitely playing to a track.
oh, there was tons of stuff going on. There was like a whole other show. It sounded like going on. You know, there was a lot of stuff going on.
Those two new guys bring a lot.
Oh, they're
to
great.
It. Yeah.
I think that's why I like every lineup. I like them all. I like every era, every lineup. They all brought something. I wish I never got to see the Vinnie Vincent era. I wish I had.
Vinnie Vincent's doing a Comic-Con.
He's great. I would love to see
he's coming
him.
back out of like
he's
his
been
hiding or
gone
something. Yeah,
forever.
because he was just on Eddie Trunk, wasn't he?
Was on Eddie
Yeah,
Trunk,
the
and then-
chat says he's trying to tour using the Kiss name.
He is, and I think they're trying to stop him from doing that. But he did some stuff in conjunction with them too. He did some events like the Gene. You know, they've been doing the tour, where they've been going out and playing acoustic stuff. He was part.
From what I hear,
he did that.
yeah, like Gene is really open to the other guys
That would be-
and all that
I
stuff,
don't
but
think
it's
Paul
Paul.
is. I don't
It's
think he
Paul.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm getting
Yeah.
most of this from Eddie Trunk. Yeah, because
that he's not.
yeah.
But I don't understand why. I mean, I've never heard of it. If you have, I haven't heard.
Well,
I haven't heard why.
Some people just have small egos,
Yeah.
and they just can't handle anybody else getting the limelight and
That's-
things like that. And you know what? To be honest, if I was Paul Stanley, this is just me. If I was Paul Stanley, and there was a guy like Peter Criss that had that voice in the band, I would hate him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, because if I wanted to be the lead guy, and I knew that there was this guy that had this great voice, I would try to bury him.
Yeah.
If I had a shallow ego,
yeah,
you know what I mean. If I had a shallow, but if you were more a giving guy, then maybe. But
Let
also,
them shine. Or write songs.
yeah. But also,
fit,
like Paul
yeah.
says in his biography, he says that that Peter could barely do the lifting
Yeah.
that he was required to do, which is just drum. So maybe it was just too much to ask for him to sing some of these songs
Yeah,
or
I
more
guess-
songs.
I guess the
God.
Space Ace chauffeur thing was more of an insult that he was,
Oh
you know.
no, that's not what we meant. I'm sorry, we didn't mean that.
We didn't.
We didn't mean that. I love all things Kiss.
Yeah.
But I've heard Paul rationalize the whole thing. Recently, there was an interview. I think it was even on Rolling Stone, which is ironic because it's a magazine that they've often said they dislike. You know, because
Right.
they've never given him any attention. But where he just said he didn't want the reunion of the original guys to be the crux of the tour. You know, so maybe that's an ego thing. Yeah, I don't want that much attention on those guys, but it would be huge to have
Well, it makes good business sense.
Yeah.
That's why I think he ends up going along with it. But I know a lot of people in the comic book industry, and it's usually the people that aren't quite as talented as the others. And what they do is they don't like to share limelight, and they don't like to, because I think they feel like it exposes them for like less than they are. And so they don't like that. And I don't know. I'm not saying that Paul's like that because, like I said, this is supposed to be our love for this band.
Oh, yeah. And
so
I love
but you know what? He says it in his own words. Like if you listen to that, Taylor and I listened to it while we were working. He's a bitter dude, man. He's
It
kind
is
of
really compelling, though. Even if you guys aren't big Kiss fans, I recommend listening to the audiobook. The whole thing is on YouTube.
I read it when it came out. I don't remember that much about it, but now I might have to give it a listen.
But he even
I have
blasts.
to give it a listen.
It's him reading it, too.
It's him. Oh,
Yeah, it's his words.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, which makes it even better. Yeah.
You get to hear his tone and everything he's talking about.
His inflection,
Oh,
like when he
no.
gets a little, but it
it's
doesn't
funny.
change that much, but there's enough that you can tell. Yeah.
Snarl.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he even like says negative things about Gene Simmons. And I was thinking, man, if I had a business partner and we were that successful, like 40 years, how long have they been around?
Play along.
Yeah.
Right?
Just
Hey.
yeah,
This is what it is.
take it to the grave.
And then we were talking before, again, we talked about some things I forgot about before we even came on live, which was, I already forgot what it was, some good stuff. It was brilliant before we were here.
Yeah,
but,
volume, yeah.
But where recently Gene had publicly humiliated Paul, I guess, about his voice. He said something during a performance about his voice.
Messed up.
Yeah, and then Paul had rationalized it. I think it was in an interview, or maybe, again, I saw it on social media. It might have been an excerpt from an interview where he kind of rationalized, well, we've known each other as long as we've known each other. It's a family. We're family. That's how, people talk to each other. That's how family. We're allowed to speak to each other.
Yeah, but they're saying it publicly though.
Yeah, but
they're
it was
not
in
like
public.
talking to each other.
It was in public that he made a comment about his voice, about him losing his voice or something.
Yeah, that's different.
It's a little different, right?
And
Right?
also, let's just say, like, if my theory's right, and then your partner, right, the guy that's supposed to have your back, says this publicly,
But
that's not going to feed your ego.
But funny that you say that. You just use that term. You have your back, because at the end of that interview, the printed interview, he says, at the end of the day, he has my back, and I always have his.
Yeah, but that's like trying to bring it back, right?
After the fact.
What it was, okay, I listened to Adam Carolla, and who's the actor that's called it CompuSalts?
Oh man, I don't remember.
It's the guy that does the Neo voice.
CompuSalts.
What is that actor's name?
Oh, are you talking about the Neo voice?
From Finding Nemo, I mean.
Oh, I don't remember.
What is that
his name.
comic's name? Albert Brooks.
Oh God.
Albert Brooks. He said there's this type of fan that comes up and they'll compliment you. They're like, "Oh man, Albert Brooks, I'm your biggest fan. I'm your biggest fan." But that one movie, what were you thinking?
Always.
And so then he calls them CompuSalts. So they start off as a compliment and then they go into an insult.
Exactly.
So it sounds like Gene was doing it in reverse.
Kind of.
It was like
Started with
the insult, and then brought it to the
But I love you.
to the compliment.
Who loves you more than I do, right?
Yeah,
Right?
I got your
Right,
back.
I got your back.
I'm
Who
allowed
loves you
to
more
say
than I
it.
do? Yeah, I'm
We're
allowed.
family.
Ooh, yeah,
Oh yeah.
Well, that book is interesting too, because like Paul in it, maybe it's just some like leftover bitterness, but he'll totally insult Gene, but at the same time be like, oh, but he was the best partner. And like when he said he was gonna leave, he was like, I couldn't believe you'd do that to me because we built this together, but also just like disparaging all of his contributions.
Yeah. He's like, I'd be writing and I'd be working on songs, and
He'd do anything.
he would just leave and go do like some kind of interview, and then it was all about Gene Simmons and not about the band.
That was
and-
the best
those
part,
two.
where he was like, he wanted to get into acting, and I said we had to focus on the band. He's like, besides, I wanted to get into acting.
Which he tried to do.
See, that's what I'm talking
No, he
about.
did.
Like, but
He
I'm just
did.
saying that's where the jealousy.
I wanted
like,
it
maybe.
first anyway.
yeah, he's got
Maybe.
he's got a small ego.
Yeah, I think he had a part on a soap. I think I don't know if it was General Hospital, but I think that's all he got.
Oh, dude, did
Yeah.
you ever see? Okay, this we're gonna have to wrap this up.
No, of course.
Because you know what?
We can go on.
Well, no, these are shows unto themselves. Like, because we could do a whole episode on
We
these
do an
things.
episode where we watch that soap opera.
But okay,
He's
this
like a boyfriend of some character.
okay, this will be the party shot. And if you don't know this, you have to find it on YouTube, Scott. Okay, there was a show called. It was done by Chris Carter, the X-Files guy, and it was what the
Millennium.
hell? Millennium.
I saw it.
With Gene Simmons and
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
Paul Stanley plays the old guy. At
They were the
beginning.
old guys.
Yeah, he was the old guy. I didn't even
What?
realize.
Yeah, yeah.
He was the old guy
But
with
they-
the chick in the show.
right,
Yeah,
right.
I didn't
But-
realize it.
But that's probably how they really look.
I know, without the makeup.
Right, without the
and stuff.
makeup,
I
yeah.
know. But
Oh,
I
they-
remember somebody said that because they're probably not made up.
Did they
Yeah.
have them dressed so they were like playing normal
He had a
old
prosthetic.
guys?
Yeah, and he was supposed to be like an old.
I don't
think,
know.
a movie producer or
It,
something.
it could have been prosthetics, but you know what?
And nobody ever talks about that.
I think it was
Yeah.
really
That
how
was
they
just
looked.
him, yeah. You're
yeah.
like, oh my God, he's like
But
a-
Gene and Paul were in that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Gene was the homeless guy, kind of. I did it all. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I did it.
I did it.
I did
That's
it.
hilarious.
Yeah.
And then Ace and Peter were the cops, which I didn't
They're
know
not
until
in
later.
that.
They're the two cops that they passed in the hallway. And the guy, Ace goes, "Hey,
Wait
hey,
a minute.
hey, good luck, Frank." Or what? That's Ace Frehley with the sunglasses.
Yeah, but they
on.
weren't. They weren't together as a band then.
They were. Actually,
That
when
was the
Millennium-
reunion
That
tour?
was after the reunion. That
Wow.
would have been Psycho Circus. Yeah.
Oh my! I thought I was
Yeah.
going to out geek you, but you out geeked me.
No,
I
that
didn't know
was-
those guys were in that.
Oh yeah, the Peter and
So
and
all
Ace
four of them are
are
in
the
that.
guys that when he's walking down the hall.
Yeah, the security
and
guys.
yeah, and he goes, "Good going, Frank," or something. It's Ace Frehley. Yeah. Yeah.
Now
with
I
his
have
weird,
to
with
look
his
that
weird accent. I don't know why he does that. Yeah, that nasally. Yeah, right.
Well, if you guys haven't seen that, you got to check this out.
Millennium.
Millennium,
What's
yeah.
his name?
Frank-
Lance Henriksen.
Yeah,
The
but his
actor,
character's
brilliant
name was
actor.
Frank Black. 'Cause I
Yeah,
always remember
yeah.
like black and white.
Like black and
yeah,
white,
that he came out.
Yeah,
around. I was like-
Millennium. And I don't even know if the show went on
I heard
that
good
long.
things about that.
The first
show.
season I thought was pretty
was
strong.
pretty good, right?
But then it got really, really dark, and then the second season started falling apart. I think they might have
Oh,
had
I
a
know.
third
I
season.
remember you
Millennium,
telling me
yeah.
about this now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they
Yeah.
killed the wife. I think they had some kind of plague, something. I think it was the season finale in season 1, and so when they came back, like the Millennium Group, they had the antidote for just 2.
Okay.
So then that Frank Black had to decide whether his child lives or his wife lives, because they said that they already. Oh, that's what it was, because they already gave him the antidote and he didn't know it.
So he didn't have a choice.
Yeah, so he didn't have a choice because he couldn't give up his life
Yeah.
for his wife or his kid.
Yeah.
So he had to make a decision between his wife and his kid. And so the wife, instead of letting him make the decision, she just that night she just walks out and then just
that's
exposes herself.
I mean, he could have just told them both they were going to make it and only give it to one, and then let them go to sleep in peace and find out the next
Well,
morning.
either way, it's why set things
That's a
up
pretty
like, it's
depressing,
pretty dark.
dismal ending to a season.
Because I always thought, because remember the yellow house in that?
Yeah.
We're going off on a tangent here,
well,
but
kids could have
Next time,
yeah,
Millennium.
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 It'll be Millennium Corner with Scott Palacios. but anyway, the whole it would always cut back to the yellow house, which was always their sanctuary.
Right.
Because I always thought that it was kind of X-Files meets Manhunter
Yeah.
or Red
Oh,
Dragon.
There you go.
Because
The
that Frank Black
profiler.
was a profiler,
Yeah.
but he was like a supernatural profile, and kind of like Red Dragon. There was kind of supernatural aspects I
that
thought
movie.
to that stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, the book.
Manhunt.
Yeah.
Oh.
But anyway, so I thought it was that. But what they did is that there was always the yellow house, and there was always his wife and kid. So no matter how dark his world got, he could always go home in the evening
Aw.
and spend it with his
Essential.
wife and his daughter. So that was the hope.
Yeah.
So he was making the world a better place.
Yeah.
But then at the end, they took that away from him. So I was always like, what the heck?
This is fun.
Now it's just darkness. Yeah.
It's like
Hello,
they-
darkness,
it's like
my
they-
only
My only
friend.
friend.
It's like they acknowledged that it was necessary to have that in the show,
going
but then they're
on?
like, what if we just don't?
Yeah, like, you know what? I don't mind dark stories, but I always think there has to just be some kind of hope or some kind of greater
Something.
good that's served.
Something.
Yeah, and then they brought in
Right.
that the girl, his daughter, like, they brought into somehow, like, he sees demons, but she sees angels. So they brought it into, like, some kind of biblical, like, you know what I mean? Like, light and dark thing.
So in a way, we just brought it around because with the white hot cover, I saw angels.
The
and
good
the
guys
good
and kids are the
So we
bad
brought it
guys.
all the way around.
Yeah. Okay. So on that, since you wrapped it all up in a nice tight bow, that's why Scott gets paid the big bucks.
The big bucks,
The
right?
big bucks, yeah. So hey, anyways, you guys, if you like this,
Please let us know.
yeah, let us. That sounded sad.
Come on, come on, man.
Come
What are
on,
you guys
man.
doing? What are you guys
Scott,
doing?
Scott needs this.
What are you guys doing? What are you doing?
Scott really needs this.
After this, I got nowhere else to go. You know, I just hang out here and draw. I draw.
You do?
No.
Draw breath.
No.
I draw a breath. Well, I was thinking we'll have lunch. We'll do like a celebratory lunch.
Oh,
So
that sounds
hopefully the
very
numbers will be
nice.
good, and hopefully we had enough people to chat, right? We did good.
Yeah, you guys, there's plenty of more Kiss material these two can
There's
talk about, and if you want to hear
plenty.
it, let them know. Jason Lee says, art sounds like a teenager. This is great.
See?
If you guys want to hear more stories, maybe about these guys' music days, or you want to hear Kiss, or you got some questions about Kiss, maybe you want to talk about some of the Kiss
So
comics, let us know in the comments, and
So much.
don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and the link in the description is there. You can find our current Indiegogo black and white. If you want to click that and check out and support, we added some new tiers recently that might be of interest. And there's also the newsletter where you can be kept up to date on the latest goings on as far as Hack Shack Studios. And also,
Is that in the link?
it should be the fourth link down.
Okay, so that's the art by Thibert.com. And if you guys have been listening to Mike's channel, the Drawn and Quartered, I participated in the last two. So last week I won. This week I came in third. So
I call shenanigans.
I call shenanigans. I do. There's some kind of like hubbub going on there. Yeah,
you guys
it was
see that
rigged.
Starfire? It's amazing.
I'm gonna post that Starfire too. And you know what? After this, you guys, I forgot to put it up on the site, so it'll be for sale on the Art by T-Bear site too. But you just put up the Rogue, right?
Yeah, if you guys go to the Art by T Bear site, under the commissions tab, there's a new tab that's for sale. Maybe if you do some more drawing.
Is it in the
courses.
commissions or is it just in the pinups?
No, it's in
covers?
the commissions section underneath the for sale tab.
Okay, so can they buy it through the site?
Yes, they can. Well, they have to contact you to buy it.
You know what
I
we
can
should
list
do?
it.
We should list it. We should list it in covers and pinups.
All right, you know, guys, we'll start a new section, so they'll be listed in there, so you can.
No, that's there already.
Okay.
The covers and pinups.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it'll be added. to
Yeah,
that
yeah.
section. So check that out to purchase the Rogue.
And then we'll put up the Starfire that I did last night too. I was robbed, like Tater says. There was some kind of nefarious voting going
I think you're
on.
the only person that gave Starfire her classic hair too.
You know, maybe.
I'm just saying.
But you know what? This is why I think it was rigged, because the votes were still coming in when they called it, and the votes were favoring me. Because Mike slipped.
And-
Mike was like Art's like climbing up right now, and then boom, and then they ended it, and then they tallied it.
And it wasn't fair because when Edwin was showing everybody's pieces off, when they were supposed to be showing yours, they were showing Mike's drawing the whole time. So not everybody got to see yours till the very end.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
saying.
it was
I'm
rigged.
just saying.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
Some kind of hubbub.
There's some hubbub going on
Some
here.
kind of hubbub bub. What's the hubbub bub?
But either way, you
I'm
get-
channeling Looney Tunes now.
You can get your hands on that when you check out the site.
Well, thanks, Taylor. And yeah, like
Yeah,
like you
thank
said,
Taylor.
Yeah. God, I'm gonna
Oh, I
hit
meant
you.
that. I
I'm gonna
meant
so
that. I
hit
was
you, Scott,
sincere.
right now.
I'm
You did. That
sincere.
didn't sound sincere.
No, I meant
That
it.
sounded like you were like hurting her.
Well,
Like,
the,
look
audience,
at
the audience wants you guys to come back because they said, great show, you should do it every week.
Got some-
Oh, thank
my
you.
God.
It'll be an excuse to like hang out with Scott because
There
we're
you
so
go.
busy. We're always so busy that we
Right.
don't have time to hang out anymore. So Scott and I have known each other
A long
since
time. I was going to say 81.
since
I
'81.
think 81. If
Yeah.
I can remember coming into the art universe.
Would that be welcome to my
the
world?
The Art Thibert universe. So the Thibert, yeah.
So was that late '70s or no? You said '81.
81.
81.
And I think that's when I can remember. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's been a while. Well, very good, my friend. Thanks
Yes.
for showing up,
Thank
and
you
we'll
so
build
much.
this thing. We'll build this thing. So
Thank you.
this is Kiss Corner
Lot of
with
fun.
Scott Palacios. Do you have anything? Any parting shot?
No, other than thank you so much. I love this. This is fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I was thinking something. We should have something like so rock and roll all night, and then you say
And
party.
and party every day.
Okay.
And then go do do do.
Okay, let's see if we. Okay, we're gonna be performing monkeys for you guys. All right, wait, stop.
Okay.
Stop.
I
You
missed
gotta
the
stop, man.
man.
I'm
Me
good.
too.
You want me to hit you, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's,
Man.
there's gonna be a slap. There's gonna be a slap.
All right, on the count of
he's-
3.
Okay, wait. Okay, so okay, ready?
Yeah.
On the count of 3, Taylor.
1, 2, 3.
So rock and roll all night.
And party every day.
See you guys.